My name is Robin Warren and I'm the head teacher at Primrose Hill Primary School in Camden. We've done quite a bit of promotion around this in the community, so parents know what we're doing. We've tweeted, we've put stuff on our website. I did an assembly yesterday. I think it will be great when the children see their images, as real posters, for example. They were quite excited today to see the A3 versions of their own prints. So little things like that give them ownership, and they'll go home and tell their parents about this. And I was so impressed with what the children said today as a head teacher, and I'm sure you were as well. So I'll be writing some letters to say to them, well done, thank you very much. And it's these kind of things that when you're applying for secondary schools and universities, it's good to have in your kind of arsenal of skills. I did this when I was 11, or I've been part of this. This was recommended by a friend of mine who knows the team, and asked me if it would be something that we would want to be involved in. And as a primary school head teacher, I was keen to be part of it. Photography is not part of the national curriculum at this level, and I felt my children could benefit from doing some more technology, so we explored that, and here we are. We've had to remove some stuff from the curriculum to allow this to be explored fully, because it's taken quite a bit of time. But actually the staff and the children have really loved it. The workshops have been very well planned. The children, as you can see from the footage that you've shown today, has really benefited them. They've learnt lots of new skills that they wouldn't have learned before. We were conscious at the beginning of this project that all children had access to some devices. Not all of our children have mobile phones. We have a policy that they can't have a phone in school until they're in year 6, so that's about half of the children here. So we use some of our pupil premium funding to buy some extra devices so that all children could have access to a camera. They did some home learning over half term just to practice with some of the techniques that they'd learnt in the workshop, and then despite the limitations of the local restrictions, we used Regent's Park, the canal, the school environment to practice some of those skills in some of the self-portraits. And then I set them a home learning task to do some work with the objects and think about their feelings. So over the last couple of weeks, they've improved rapidly. And as you can see from the children's answers, they've got lots to tell you, and are very keen to pursue this in future years. I mean, the initial selling point for me was that it was targeting mental health, and as one of the leading schools in Camden for mental health, it was something I was keen to exploit as another option. Our children can talk about that, what that looks like for them, what it looks like, how they get help, etc. And then using that, they were very clear to be able to talk about their own feelings of lockdown and their own emotions. So that was the first benefit. I think then it's thinking about photography as a skill. As I mentioned, it's not part of the primary curriculum, and I think that's a failing, because actually our children at 11 are very sophisticated young adults, and they've got lots of skills to show. And where we've compared that with the other shots that we've seen in the workshops, you can see the difference in how the children progress from 11 to 18. One of the constraints of the curriculum this year is that children have to catch up learning that they've missed during lockdown. So I was very mindful of not narrowing the curriculum, so it was all about reading, writing and maths. But we have made adaptations, so the teachers aren't expected to do a science lesson every week or a geography lesson. So our autumn term focus was on personal, social and health education, talking about their feelings and making sure that the children were safely reintegrated back into school, and they felt happy. That was our first thing, because for most of our children, being off school was a trauma. They had sick families, they were surrounded by worries about COVID, they weren't at school with their friends. So coming back, I expected lots of anxiety for the children and the families. But actually, in the first week back, we had 97% of the school community come back very positively with their attendance. Then we focused on art. So you'll see around the school, we've got some amazing displays, and we just wanted the children to express themselves. And I felt this photography movement fitted in very well with what the year 6s were doing. So whilst they might have taken out something of the curriculum with permission from me, what's been added has been great benefit to them. And teachers need new skills as well. So I think for our staff, they've learned some new skills, even if it's just accessing a WebEx through a webcam. One of the things that we tell our children is that we're training them to do jobs that might not exist yet, because technology and the world is moving on, and I think we've got to be very mindful of giving girls ambitions that, in fields that might predominantly be men's. So I was very impressed with some of the work that the girls have done in this project, but also the boys as well. They've talked about their feelings, they're very articulate about it, and I think using photography in their learning in the future will be quite powerful. They're used to making presentations, they're used to having to present to other people, to speak in public, so to have a visual means alongside that, I think will be great for them. They're very tech savvy, there's things that they can do when they're 5 that I wouldn't have been able to do when I was 15, so that's a really encouraging thing about young people. One of the home learning projects that they've done recently has actually been in teams, so a couple of children with this photography project. One had to be the director, one had to be the technician, and one had to be the story manager. So they've done that with them within their classrooms and taken photographs just to rehearse those techniques that you've suggested, and creating presentations that don't have any words. We've told the children death by PowerPoint. We don't want that. So we want something that the viewer can look at while somebody is narrating alongside. The big worry for lockdown for me was not all of our children would be able to access online learning. So we had to make sure that we used all of our Chromebooks and the devices that we have in school to send home during that time. So they became a bit more savvy with the technology. They were able to self-manage, be independent, interact with the teachers. If there was a further lockdown, I think they would use photography more as a tool to self-regulate, manage their emotions, incorporate that into the learning that they're doing. So I think it's valuable skills. We joke at this school that the head teacher likes a selfie, so now they've all got the skills to do that with meaning.